Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Too Many Voices podcast. I'm your host, John J. Laughlin, and it is May the 5th, 2023. I'd like to welcome everyone back. Hope that everyone is doing quite well. So, tonight is the full moon eclipse, and I thought this would be a perfect time to discuss the topic of spiritual warfare. Okay, spiritual warfare, what is it? Well, it's exactly like how it sounds. It is a war of the spirit, a war fought in the spirit. It is a psychic war. It is a war of consciousness. So individuals, groups, entities, a spiritual attack is a projection of negative energy towards you to attack your consciousness, usually at the subconscious level. Now, normally these spiritual attacks come on out of nowhere, and it usually happens when you've healed. Okay, you're in a good place in life. Everything is groovy, okay? And these things really come out of left field. And you will start to recognize that. So when somebody projects their energy towards you, okay, there's going to be a specific, resonance or frequency with that attack. And if you are self-aware enough and know yourself enough, you will be able to recognize that that is not that's not your emotions. Okay, that's not your shit. That's somebody else is being projected towards you. So here recently, I went through a series of spiritual attacks being projected towards me due to a high-level soulmate connection that I had. I do identify as a twin flame, although I met my real twin several years ago. This was another high-level soulmate that came into my life, and immediately God put the kibosh on it anyway. I was told to walk away by my spirit guides and the Most High, so I did. But also there was a group of individuals that really went out of their way to sabotage this connection, and for the most part succeeded. One person involved was a guy that I worked with, and his girlfriend, who also worked at the coffee shop where this high-level soulmate, where I met this person, they went out of their way, out of sheer jealousy and envy, because they're fucking scumbags. Plain and simple. Mind your own fucking business. And, I guess they were trying to get me to react so many times, man. That's what narcissists do. They like to poke the bear, man. And I'll admit, if I was the man I was, 5 years ago, I would have stacked these motherfuckers, take that ever however you want it, and I wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast right now. You know what I'm saying? They have no idea who the fuck I am or who the fuck I used to be. But let me tell you something, that part of me still exists. Okay, if I have to unleash that, I will. Just saying. It is not spiritually healthy to let someone attack you and get away with it. Okay, it's not spiritually healthy to let a group of people project their bullshit onto you without consequences. Now, I didn't have to lift a finger. I got a hell of a spirit team. And I was ordered to back down by the Most High and do not react. So that is what I did. And let karma take its course. And from what I understand, it is. So, but I noticed that every full moon, new moon, I could feel these spiritual attacks coming on. And to a point, like, I can recognize it immediately. So every full moon cycle, new moon cycle, again, I have these set rituals, mantras, prayers that I have for myself that I engage in. It's a good idea to get out in the full moon, get out there in it, and, whatever, chant your mantras, your prayers, call in your spirit guides, the angels and archangels that you work with, and go from there, whatever works for you. You don't have to adhere to anybody else's dogmatic approach to your spiritual path. Okay, each person's journey is going to be different from everybody else's, all right? But if you're called to be a light worker or do spiritual work in general, whatever label you want to use, this is part of the job, man. This comes with the territory. And looking back on it throughout my life, I was under spiritual attack a lot, okay? And especially during my dark night of the soul, that's a very vulnerable time for spiritual attacks because your entire paradigm is getting ripped apart. You don't know which way is up. I really, I struggled through my dark night of the soul. But looking back on it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Anyhow. So anyway, these individuals really went out of their way to sabotage this connection and work their little spell work and spell magics and black magics and whatever the fuck else they do in the shadows because they have no balls and they're cowards, and that's okay. That's just who they are. They have no soul. Okay. But luckily for me, I had been going down the rabbit hole for quite some time and gaining this knowledge about witchcraft and spell work and the dark occult, and so I could protect myself. I would never do spell work against another individual, unless it was actually help them, Because 99 times out of 100, the person doing spell work, especially if they don't know what the fuck they're doing, it's going to backfire and come back on them, tenfold. It's like, don't fuck with shit. You don't know what you're fucking, you don't know what you're fucking with, man. And that is like everything you do in life, okay? But anyway, that's what these people were doing. That's what they did. These people went so far, okay, to keep me and this soulmate apart. They hacked my phone. They hacked my Facebook account. I know they got their little fake fucking accounts, on my TikTok. Whatever, man. I don't give a fuck about the situation. These people aren't worth my fucking time. It's childish. I'm a grown fucking man. I don't have time to fuck with kids. Go play in your fucking sandbox, kids. But anyway, I noticed on my phone I was getting photos that I had never taken. And I noticed when I got this photo, it looked like a dead zombie hand, I guess. It was all photoshopped and shit. And it was like the left hand, it was a woman's hand, and there was like a ring, a thumb ring on the thumb. And I was just like, oh, okay, what is this? A dead fucking hand? Is that her? I don't know. I don't have time to fuck with this. Whatever. And a great Photoshop job, you guys. I guess I was supposed to react to that. Well, here's my reaction now. Great Photoshop job, and good for you. You can use Photoshop. So anyway, this is this is the bullshit that I've been dealing with, and my situation. It's unique to me, but it's not a unique situation for the Twin Flame Collective or Divine Counterpart Collective. A lot of connections are being fucked with like this right now. The dark is up in their game. I don't know how else to say it. That's what they're doing. So that being said, if you're new to your spiritual path, or if you're new to doing your spiritual work and called to do spiritual work, then you need to learn how to protect yourself and be vigilant, and just learn how to fight back. So what I do to protect myself, every full moon, new moon, I'll go out in it. I meditate. I recommend doing something physical, whether it's yoga, martial arts. I do both. A lot of breath work. And just go out there and start saying your prayers, your mantras, calling in your spirit guides and the Most High, and doing return to senders. And don't listen to these new age spiritualists that you're going to hear. Oh, don't do a return to sender. That's bad. That's vengeful. Fuck you. Get out of my face. All right, if you're in a street fight or in a war in the 3D and somebody's shooting at your ass and you got a fucking machine gun, you're not going to fire back? If somebody tries to fight me on the streets and comes at me, fuck no, I'm going to unleash hell on this motherfucker and take him down to the ground and not stop until he stops moving. All right, and that's how I fight the spiritual war too. It is warfare. It is not spiritually healthy to let somebody physically attack you and not defend yourself or your family. It is not spiritually healthy to let motherfuckers like this interfere with your life, okay, on that level, and spiritually attack you or whatever the case may be. So, protect yourself. That is your right, okay? You are a sovereign being, and you have the right to protect yourself on all levels, okay? So, other ways you can protect yourself, and, a friend of mine that I speak to about these matters, he went through an awakening, I guess around the age I did. He was around 40, and he says to take a shower every night before you go to bed, and he's not the first one that has told me that, because water, you can do a lot of spiritual work with water. So water not only cleanses away the physical muck and grime of the day, it also cleanses away the spiritual muck and grime of people or places that you had been around throughout the day. Doing a cord cutting ceremony every day. Cut any negative energy cords with any people, groups, entities, environments that you may have been around throughout the day. I don't know if I said this. Smudging your sleep space at night. So light some Palo Santo, some sage. The whole purpose behind sacred smoke, it's lighter than air, so it lifts these heavy energies, negative energies away. Dissipates that shit out into the ether to be transmuted in the love and light, hopefully. So doing that, bath salts, bathing in bath salts like magnesium salts, things to really, really cleanse your body. Being very aware during your sleep state. Okay, your sleep state is a time when you are the most vulnerable. Okay, I mean, your dream state, that's basically your body leaving, your soul leaving the body. And one of the things that can happen in your sleep state, people will try to attack you in your dreams. I recommend keeping a dream journal and, making note. I mean, you may find out what the source is through doing that. Okay. I'm going to read off a list right now of symptoms of spiritual attacks. And the ones I've listed, I have 10 of them. These are things that I have experienced for myself to one degree or another. And keep in mind that everything I'm listing off right now, each of these things human beings go through normally throughout their life. Spiritual attacks happen when you're doing good. You've healed for the most part. That's when these attacks occur. It comes out of left field. Anyhow, number 1, feeling discouraged, defeated, depressed, hopeless, overwhelmed, feeling burdened for no reason at all. Okay, you're doing good in life. Again, you've done enough healing work to where these feelings, yes, they can come up from time to time, but if you've done enough work on yourself, it shouldn't come up and affect you to a degree that it disrupts your life. And that's for all of this. And one thing I want to say, too, about all of these spiritual attacks, you can inflict these upon yourself because you haven't healed enough. You're at a low vibration, so you're leaving yourself open to these attacks, whether collectively or for another individual or a group. Number 2, loss of spiritual desire. So let's say you might be part of a meditation group. You've got your own practice that you do every day, and you're strong, you're feeling good, you're disciplined, and then one day you just wake up and feel completely apathetic and like, why am I doing this? Shit like that. When you've had the experience of that divine, unconditional love come into your life. You've got a good relationship for God, and then all of a sudden with God, and then you just feel completely apathetic and lost or confused and low energy. Physical fatigue, number 3. This is one that has definitely happened to me a lot. And I can tell when it's a spiritual attack because, the day before, I didn't do any strenuous work. I didn't work out too hard or do any crazy manual labor. Got a great night's sleep and wake up the next day and just feel completely wiped out and even sore in a lot of cases. And those of you that have astral traveled in the past know how tiring that can be. Okay, every time I've done that, the next day it feels like I ran a marathon. And again, your sleep state is the most vulnerable. So just be very aware. Make your own dream catcher and hang that above your bed. I mean, I will probably lose a lot of people during this podcast because this material that I'm speaking of, unless you've experienced this for yourself and have gone through it, you have no frame of reference. Everything that I'm discussing, what I've experienced the last 4 years, is everything that we were taught not to believe in. So, there you go. Okay, number 4, doubting God's goodness. And again, I know I've been there, man. Just some of the things I've gone through in life can push us to that point to feel like God's punishing you and you're being judged. And depending on what you've done, that may be the case. But, if you're going through an awakening and you're on your path, you're doing what God wants you to do, you start questioning these things, that could definitely be a spiritual attack. Now, normally these attacks will be projected to you by someone you know or who knows of you. I've heard many interviews with said religious, spiritual gurus, teachers. They get to this level of acknowledgement in the public eye and have achieved a level of status. And because they're helping the world and actually benefiting mankind, people take offense to that and do whatever they can to bring the person down. It's fucking crazy, I know it. Let's see. Number 5, negative, disturbing thoughts about your life. Again, that's one of the things we've all been there. But if you're going through an awakening and have really healed and whatever, you got the wife, the kids, the family, the house with the white picket fence, all that shit, everything's good, dialed in, and then negative thoughts about your life pop up out of nowhere. Maybe you start ruminating on past situations or start future tripping. What if this happens? What if that happens? And, next thing you know, all hell can break loose mentally, which is that's the purpose of the spiritual attack, to, fuck you up psychologically. Let's see. Thinking about going back to a past lifestyle that no longer serves your highest good. Okay, definitely been there. Being a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. When I first got sober and many times afterwards, I slipped a lot, okay, many relapses. But, I may have had 1 or 2 years of sobriety in between, those times. But what I'm saying is all of a sudden the subconscious thoughts come up. Again, doing good in life, pretty happy, you know? And then the thought comes in, oh man, you know, I could, you know, slam one shot of bourbon and snort one line. That'll be fine. And, you know, the ego kicks in. It's like, fuck yeah, brother, let's do this shit. It's been a minute. Then it's, you know, 2 months later and you're waking up facing the floor and covered in piss and vomit. And, or maybe you had a very promiscuous lifestyle previously. The next thing you know, you're stepping out and whatever, fucking everything that moves. The sheep are scared. And, you know, just back to that same old shit. You know, kind of been there too, man. I mean, when I was out on the road working greenhouse construction in California, it was Christmas, and you know, whatever. Backpage was still a thing. I was lonely, and so I locked myself in a hotel room from Christmas to New Year's and snorted coke, pounded booze, and banged hookers. So, yeah. You know, I can definitely say that I went back to a lifestyle that no longer served my highest good. Maybe I was under a spiritual attack at that time. It was a very low point in my life. Not proud of it. I definitely pulled myself out of that. But, you know, whatever. It happens, okay? We're all human. We all fuck up. We're all flawed. So, you know, it's nothing to feel guilty about at all. Old emotional wounds that resurface. Okay, now this happens a lot during the healing phase. But again, you've healed. And these things come out of nowhere, just out of left field for no reason at all. And these may be things that happened to you as a child, and you're in your 40s, and you know you've healed that, moved on, or things that happened to you in high school. Either way, these are things that should not affect you anymore, at least to a degree. I mean, if it does pop up, you should be like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, that happened, but I dealt with it. Let's move on now. Fuck it. Let's see. Oh, battling with feelings of fear, shame, and guilt. Okay, fear, shame, and guilt are the lowest forms of mental consciousness a human being can have. First of all, we live in a fear-based society. That being said, you know, most people are being spiritually attacked every day just based on that because they believe everything they fucking see on mass media, and they're just locked into fear, shame, and guilt. They feel ashamed because, I don't know, for whatever fucking reason, guilty for whatever reason. But this is primarily, I think, focusing on like things that have happened to you in the past. These are primarily the focus, again, of these spiritual attacks. So if you're feeling fear or ashamed or guilty about things that happened in your past, you're afraid of people finding out, even though you know you've changed, and fuck them if they can't see the new me or whatever, that can definitely be a form of spiritual attack. And this one is probably more self-inflicted than any of these, I think. I mean, these feelings kind of go along with the territory, you know, when you're healing. I mean, I've known some guys. I mean, I used to run with some really dangerous, fucking crazy people, man. And you know, I had some guys I knew. You know, they did some very heinous, fucked up shit to people. The kind of shit that'll get you 15 years in the clink. And they did. You know, they pulled their time, got out, but they healed themselves. You know, they got sober, and while they were locked up. And, you know, now they have families, they support their community and living great lives. But if they had held on to all that fear, shame, and guilt because of their past and weren't able to move on, being, you know, locked into that loop, they'd be right back in there, man, you know. So just be aware of that. Feelings of rejection. Okay, rejection, that's attacking love, and that can be very devastating for sure. Whether you're rejected by your family, rejected by a significant other, your spouse, religious organization, or friend group, that can be very devastating. Now, this one for me, if you're feeling rejected and you let it get to you, you just need to work on self-love, man. If you love yourself unconditionally and have a great relationship with God, and fuck feelings of rejection. I mean, I'm to a point now in my life, I'm in complete union with myself. I've got a good relationship with the Most High. I mean, the way I look at it, I crossed the finish line, man. I fucking made it. So, I mean, I think that one, and that can be very self-inflicted one as well. You know, that's just the kind of, like, rejection is the kind of thing you just ruminate on. You're kind of doing it to yourself, you know, sitting in the corner and sulking. Oh, fuck that. You have every right to live your life just like everybody else does, you know. If somebody rejects you, consider that a sign from the universe that, okay, well, fuck those people, fuck that person, they don't need to be in my life anyway, and walk away and call it a day, man. Number 10, confusion over what you believe. Now, okay, going through a spiritual awakening, especially dark night of the soul, going through, complete ego death, and your entire paradigm and belief systems are getting ripped apart anyway, and you're figuring out that what you were taught just ain't it, and you're on this completely different path. Yes, there's gonna be a lot of confusion over what you believe, but once you've gone through this process, through an awakening, and you were pretty steadfast in what you believe now, as opposed to what you did, 5 years ago, then all of a sudden that gets disrupted. That could definitely be a spiritual attack. Especially if you've had no doubts, okay? You're pretty much doubt-free at this point about what you believe, where you're going in life, and where you are in life. And again, these attacks, more than likely are being projected on you by people that you know from your past. Especially, if you just gone through a divorce or broken up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, and, they're still being, cunty, and they're projecting your shit onto you anyway. Not to mention, and especially having sex. Sex is the biggest energy exchange you can experience. Okay, so you're still stuck in that person's energy field, and so what they're projecting onto you, you're gonna feel it pretty fucking strong, man. Until you've walked away from that situation long enough and have healed enough from that, that will probably continue for a time. Okay, that's what I've got. I'm sure there are more. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you've gone through, if you feel like sharing that. I'm curious. I know I'm not the only one on this path who's going through this, especially if you do spiritual work. Again, these attacks just kind of come with the territory. So anyway, I think that's all I've got. Be vigilant around the new moons and full moons. Stay prayed up, stay vigilant, and disciplined on your daily spiritual practice. Even if you don't feel like doing it, man, force yourself to do it. When these people were doing this to me, okay, real quick, energy vampires, man. Now, we've all been around people that kind of like suck and drain your energy. But at the end of the day, it's like, oh, man, that dude's a fucking bummer. I'm just not going to hang around him. But then there's like real spiritual vampires, man. Straight up Nosferatu, psychic bloodsuckers, okay? And this is what was happening to me when I was dealing with these fuckers, okay, that came at me. At the end of the day, whether I was around the guy that I worked with or, around my, whatever, soulmate, I would leave, I went around these people long, man. But I would get home and just feel like somebody took the batteries out of my ass, man. Come to find out, this has happened to other light workers who are here to do spiritual work. These people are like, they siphon your energy so they can use it for their own whatever fucked off benefit. And so protect your energy at all costs. Be very discerning about who you let into your energy field. Straight up. You become like the 5 people you hang around the most anyway, psychologically. That is proven. So if you got to walk away and cut everybody out of your life to protect yourself and protect your energy so you can live your path, do so. And with no fucks given. Okay, with no fucks given. Cut them all out. This is your journey, your life, and you have every single right to live your life and do what God wants you to do. It's all that matters. So just be aware of that, man. I remember I got home, and this was a night of the full moon. Okay, and I was drained, man, like for no fucking reason other than I've been around these people. And I was channeling a lot at the time. I could definitely, I could see what was going on behind the scenes, man. And, but I forced myself this time. I was like, fuck this. I'm going out here and I'm training under the full moon. That's what I do anyway. And sure enough, I did that. I felt like $1 million, man. Whatever they were trying to like send towards me, I fucking ricocheted that shit right back at them. And that's just doing my thing, engaging in my ritual that I do for myself. So just be aware of that. Be aware of anybody new that all of a sudden comes around you and tries to make any offers. Or, anything out of the ordinary, I would just walk away from that shit immediately. And if that person feels ill about it, well, fuck their feelings, man. You got to protect yourself. So, All right, that's all I've got, at least for right now. The next episode, I think I'm going to switch gears and focus on psychedelic medicines and the pharmaceutical industry. And I got plenty of lifetime experience on that as well, dealing with psychedelic therapies. But I think that's going to be the topic for the next podcast. Anyway, love yourselves, love each other, enjoy this full moon, and stay on your path. If you're struggling with addiction issues or anything, hang in there. You'll get through it, and I'm here to help. So I really hope that my stories, my experiences, can really help others, see it within themselves. That if I can do it, you can do it, and you can. All right, everybody, have a great night, and stay healthy. All right, peace.